binge watching, a term that exists because Netflix became a thing. Sure, it was technically physically possible before then with the likes of cassette tape releases, then DVDs and Blu-rays. But it wasn't as easy to do. And let's just say if you wanted to binge watch different shows frequently, you were financially disincentivized from it on account of the fact that you had to spend money on on each individual DVD purchase. But then with subscriptions and such, I would argue that you became incentivized to binge watch because you wanted to get your money's worth to get more out of that one subscription than spending the same amount on DVDs would have cost. Thankfully today I don't see that really being as glorified as much. I mean, between the glorification of side hustles and concerns about screen time and such. Yeah, I don't think binge watching is as popular anymore. My personal experience was I didn't really have the opportunity to binge watch things until the very end of high school. And then because up until that point, most of what I watched was dropped weekly on the broadcast networks or the cable channels. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Saturday morning shows I mentioned in my Saturday morning cartoons video. All of that, all of that dropped weekly anyway, and I had video games to fill all that time. But when the original Daredevil's first season dropped, that's the first time I really wanted to binge watch something. There was actually something I wanted to binge watch. So I did. I watched a large amount of it, uh, as much as I could on that Friday, April 10th, 2015. And I finished it by the end of April 11th. Yeah, I was very enthusiastic about watching it. That was the first, again, that was really the first time I had an incentive to binge watch something because it was a show that a lot of people in the online circles I was in at the time were gonna discuss. I wanted to stay ahead of it, so I did that. And I did something similar with all the Marvel Netflix shows because they all dropped on up the entire season in one day, which sounded cool at the time, but over the second half of the 2010s, I think we all realized that wasn't a great plan. Yeah, I'd watch the new season on the day of and into the day after if I had to. So using the Marvel Netflix shows of the time, Jessica Jones, I watched what I could on I think I actually finished it all on the 20th into the early hours of the 21st because I had to take a break to pick up my tickets for or Mockingjay Part 2, which also came out that day. Tickets for me, my aunt, and my cousin. And then I was hooked on that show, so I wanted to keep it going. And again, I ran a Marvel fan Twitter at the time, so I kind of had to stay on top of it and avoid the risk of spoilers. I remember I was so excited when Daredevil season 2 dropped on the Friday of spring break of my freshman year of college, which meant I had the entire day to binge watch it, which I did. Same thing with Iron Fist when that dropped. I'd say it was towards the tail end of college, like senior year, that time. I tried to get away from binge watching, so I'd spread out my primary TV show of the time over the course of the day. Like I'd watch an episode at breakfast or morning snack, or one at lunch, one at dinner, one at evening snack. A model I actually brought back for speed running Avatar The Last Airbender rewatches because I wanted to get it done. And because weren't as long they weren't that long of episodes in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, I wouldn't want to send. By then, the streaming services started going to more of the weekly episode drops with occasional full season releases on a single day. Like Prime Video is a mixed bag when they do that. Last year, I admit I watched throughout the day the entirety of Batman Cape Crusader and Sausage Party Foodtopia on the days that they dropped. In the case of Foodtopia, we were getting new kitchen counters put in, so I kind of had to, or I felt the need to retreat into my room and plan on not being able to use the kitchen for the entire day. They were finished by lunchtime, but my point still stands. So I'd get breakfast. So that day I got breakfast before they started on the kitchen counters. And no, wait, I got Dunkin' delivered for breakfast. I got something else from the kitchen before it. This was back when I still thought that, well, I'd still use Grubhub Plus every now and then because it comes as part of Amazon Prime at no extra charge. But my God, did I waste money on that because I barely appreciated the taste and I barely appreciated what I actually got. Maybe the Boston cream donut at most. But anyway, getting back to the binge watching, I watched one episode each at breakfast, morning snack, lunch, and afternoon snack between play sessions of Pokemon Scarlet. Or I think I was on Violet at the time. No, I think I was still at the tail end of Scarlet. And then, and that night I just watched through the rest of it. I did something similar for Batman Cape Crusader without getting food deliveries or anything like that, because the day of Foodtopia, I got lunch in the form of as part of a grocery delivery, one of those pre-made deli sandwiches. And then dinner, I got a pizza delivered from a local place. Yeah, I would only ever do that now if my kitchen was unavailable. So if there's like hardcore renovations going on, this was a pretty light renovation in compared to other ideas you could think of, just replacing the countertops. But I was prepared to go the whole day without access to the kitchen. But getting back to the topic of the rise and fall of binge watching, yeah, I don't think it's as popular a thing to do anymore on account of concerns about screen time and people bragging about keeping their screen time to a minimum or finding alternatives to screen time. It was a novel concept when Netflix was first coming into play and dropping their entire seasons on one day and being like, "Oh, you gotta watch through this as soon as possible, or you're gonna get spoilers on the internet, bruh." Or the option was there from the back catalog of shows like, say, Transformers Prime. That's that's a particularly good show that I like. It's come and gone from Netflix over the years. Of course, I can achieve the same result with the digital purchase I made, where I purchased it on the Apple Digital Store, and I have longer term access to it that I don't have to pay a recurring costs for. Like right now, I'm rewatching the Legend of Korra episodes that I bought digitally on the iTunes store at the time. Now just called the Apple Digital Store. That I bought nearly 10 years ago now. Let that sink in. This is the fourth time I'm watching through it. The third time I'm using those because I had a Blu-ray box set that I watched through in 2019, but I'll do a different video on physical media and the futility of it. Assuming I didn't already do one, I think I might have. Look, I record a lot of videos in one sitting, so I lose track of what I've done videos on sometimes. Okay? All right. Yeah, I think with more streaming services dropping their episodes weekly of at least their highest profile shows, like that House of David show on Prime Video, Invincible, The Boys, Gen V, most of Disney Plus's catalog. Like I heard that I haven't been subscribed to Disney Plus since 2 days after my 28th birthday, so or the day after, because it was 2 days after that would have been the day I would have been charged $30 for that bundle again. But because I canceled it, that was the first day I was unable to access Hulu, Disney Plus, or Max, and I'm not complaining. Yeah, I just wish that I was gonna say that I wish that they would stop. up, dropping them at 9 p.m. Eastern, just dropping on the day of at 3:01 a.m. Eastern, which would be midnight over on the Pacific coast. Because they get a really unfair advantage where they can watch it at that time, or they can watch it at a reasonable time before going to bed. Assuming they're not the kind of people to stay up really late into the night. I don't know what other people do. I mean, I do my best to follow the bedtime that I set on my health app. I mean, sure, you have the likes of Andrew Tate who just sleep when they're tired, and then if they stayed up really late and then they don't feel tired, they just keep going, and then worst case scenario, he feels tired. That's an actual thing he said. He said a lot of things, like his rant against cooking, his rant against Friends, the show, not the idea of having friends. His rant against weekends, you get the idea. So yeah, overall, binge watching faded into obscurity for the most part. So many shows these days, most people just watch it on their own time with on their own timetable. Not because they don't care about spoilers, but because no one really talks about them enough to care about spoilers or anything like that. The closest I got to recreating binge watching recently was I also would watch two back to back movies during a Sunday, both when I was still doing reviews. It was the first time around, and then afterward to fill the time or to get head through rewatches more quickly. Like last September, first 4 Sundays of September, I would watch two Harry Potter movies back to back to make sure I finished them before my day at the Harry Potter exhibit in October. So yeah, binge watching, something someone might do from time to time. Personally, I would not recommend doing it unless you have nothing else to do and you know you want to get something you want to watch out of the way before, excuse me, before you have other things to take care of. I mean, make sure you have essential life things taken care of first, or any real or any goals outside of movies and TV taken care of first. Like, for example, I'm taking care of recording these YouTube videos on a Saturday morning before I do my workout session, and then I will give myself permission to do whatever I feel like that isn't urgent or important. Give this video comment what you think about all out binge watching, whether you've done it in the past, whether you still do it from time to time, or whether you actively avoid it. I'd love to hear the different perspectives on it. Give this video a like, subscribe for daily videos, and I will see you soon.